Welcome to this edition of The Forum. I'm your host, Shelia Evans. Today we have a great show for you. Each year we begin our show featuring the New Hanover County Schools' 3 Teachers of the Year. We sit down with each one and learn a little bit about their background and teaching methods. We start off with Middle School Teacher of the Year, Lisa Doyle. She is a language arts and social studies teacher at Williston Middle School. Then we travel to Laney High School, where we sit down with the high school teacher and county teacher of the year, Melissa Gillespie. She's a social studies teacher at Laney. And finally, Kristi Harper, 5th grade teacher at Winter Park, joins us. She is the elementary school teacher of the year. We've got a great edition of The Forum for you today, and we'll get started right after this short break.
There's a lot of talk out on the street about his mother, his mother, your mother, their mother. But in the end, is anyone really even thinking about them?
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you are really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
My guest is Lisa Doyle. She's a social studies teacher at Williston Middle School, and she is the Middle School Teacher of the Year. Lisa, thanks for joining us. You teach something else besides social studies?
I teach language arts this year.
Okay. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. I'll just talk about my educational background a little bit, I guess. Okay. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I went to college there for a little bit before moving to North Carolina. I went to community college on the Outer Banks for a year, which is where I sort of had to make a big decision about where I was going to go as far as education went, which is when I decided to become certified, and then took a long road around to get there. So I have an English degree from UNCW, and then spent some time in Colorado, and we came back to North Carolina where I got certified to teach, sort of bounced back and forth between here and Colorado where I taught for 4 years. I was certified elementary, and I was hoping for a 1st grade job, and they called me and said, "Will you teach middle school?" And I said, "Yes."
I'll give it a shot.
So anyway, that's where I've been ever since. It's been wonderful.
And I assume you like middle school?
I do.
You said you've been at Williston for 6 years?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Favorite teaching strategy? Something you like to do?
I mean, I think the best thing that I know how to do in my classroom is simply connecting with my students. I think that if I have really engaging lesson plans and I'm willing to just kind of stop what I'm doing and find out what's going on with them, I surpass a lot of the classroom management problems, and I really can reach them where they are.
Very good. Sounds like it makes sense. What about the role of technology today? You find that a big challenge?
It's not a challenge. It's like my absolute obsession.
Oh, good.
Williston is a magnet school for science, math, and technology, and so we've been going through the iPad initiative over the last 3 years. This is our 3rd year. And so every student now in the building has an iPad that they use all day long, which has completely transformed my teaching and their education as well. And I feel like a teacher who is not doing everything they can to get that technology in their hand is doing them just a disservice. In this world, I mean, even in my own professional life, I do everything through the computer. I don't do hardly anything without using mobile technology especially. So I focus on it as much as I can in the classroom. And it goes back to the engagement piece with my students. I can ask them to take notes off of an overhead, which they will do, or I can almost have them do the same thing, typing it on an iPad with an app that's a little bit flashy, and they're just 10 times more engaged and interested in what they're doing. It's the life that they live, and that's where they're coming from, is, you know, kind of their online personas and whatnot. it just travels into the classroom.
Theirs isn't going to go backwards.
It's not.
And at least
not.
if you have that flashy app, they're still getting some keyboarding skills. And
Absolutely,
that's never
yeah.
go
And it goes
away.
way beyond that. You know, some of the buzzwords in education is the HOTS, which is the higher order thinking skills. And just figuring out the ways to incorporate the technology into what they're already doing requires a whole different thinking process that I think allows them a lot more freedom.
Well, and they have all this technology on their phone.
Right.
So they want instant
Right.
gratification.
It's what they know.
Do they each have their own iPad that they like check in and check out, or is it theirs for the year? Or how's
it's
that
different.
work?
Different teachers, different grade levels. The
Gotcha.
teacher I was with last year, we checked it out in the morning and they kept it with them. They only switched between myself and her, so they carried it across the hall, and we were very, get in a straight line. Nobody talks, nobody moves, orderly with it. But they kept that same one all day, so they had some ownership over it, and they really take care of them. We were very nervous in the beginning about the cost of the equipment, but the students don't want to lose them either. They love them. They're really into them, so
What
they
grade
take
do you
very good
teach?
care. I'm in 6th grade.
Okay, so they have electives at the end of the day still?
No, they
No?
switched it not this year. Last year they
Okay.
did. This year it's sort of, their days broken up a little bit, so they do not take them down the
I
hall.
was just envisioning them laying
No.
around to pee
No,
or in
no,
music.
no. They ask on a
band.
regular basis, and can we please take them home? They really want to take them home, but no, they stay with us.
Makes sense, makes sense. How about some advice for students?
Oh, man, I think the biggest thing I want to tell a student is outside of their academics, and I'm a teacher, that needs to come first with me, but outside of those things, I just want especially middle school students to be kind to each other. I see a lot of, which is what we'll talk about, but I see a lot of struggles to even start your day because of things that are either happening on the bus or in the hall or in a bathroom break, right? Those are just two little minutes. I was at a workshop that talked about once a student's sort of been knocked off and they're out of sorts and they've had a confrontation, it can take 60 to 90 minutes to pull them back around till they're ready to focus and ready to learn. And if a student would just sort of take the initiative to just treat each other the way they want to be treated, just a really simple rule, I think we would bypass a lot of stuff that's happening at school.
Okay, how about some advice for teachers?
Coming from me, I really want every teacher out there to get on board with the technology piece. I think that there's been teachers who've been teaching for a while that have amazing teaching strategies in their back pockets, and that's what they know and that's what they like. And I just want to put it in their hands and let them take the lead, because it is a learning curve. And I definitely had to go through a full maybe 6 months with some of those applications that I use, really using them effectively and well in the classroom. But on the other hand, the students know what they're doing. So just to be able to turn my power over a little bit, it's still my classroom, but to let us share a little bit of that power in the classroom, I think I would love for teachers to just take a little sample of that and try it.
You're empowering your students.
Exactly.
It gives them ownership.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
What current educational issue do you think the Hanover County school system needs to address?
Well, I was sort of commenting on this earlier, but I think that as a middle school teacher, one of the most crippling things that I see coming into the classroom is bullying. And I've spoken about this earlier, but I feel that New Hanover County Schools owes it to every student in this district to make sure that they're safe when they go to school. As I'm a parent and I send a 4th grader to school every day, and I do believe that he is safe. And I feel every parent ought to be able to feel like that, knowing that their kid is not upset, they're not going to get hurt, and they're going to be safe. And then all of those things aside, if a kid is scared, they can't learn.
Right.
So you can't take education any farther than this if we're still worrying about what happened on the bus or who's going to hurt me next and what's going to happen to my day. So I definitely see the effects in the middle school classrooms. Everybody knows that middle school is not, it can be a challenging time. Peer pressure is enormous in middle school, and just that one area, I would love to see that focused on.
Okay. How about the financial crisis with educators today?
It's a
Share
big
your
one.
thoughts. Yeah.
It's a big one. I feel that I would love to have some time to sit down maybe with Governor Corey and just ask and just kind of want to know where are you going with it, because right now it seems very dismal. It would be nice to see the big picture, but that aside, and obviously it is not easy to swallow that teachers are still not being paid their steps and teachers are still not getting cost of living raises. But I think that the bigger picture needs to be, why are we here, and why am I here as a teacher? Because I know there was sort of something went around on Facebook, everybody wear red to school and we're all going to support, right? And I didn't do it because I don't believe that wearing red is enough of an action. I think that if teachers want change, they're going to have to get their hands dirty and get out there, and shouting and complaining and all those things is not going to get anybody anywhere. I believe that we are all in this industry because we love what we do and we have passion for what we do. Nobody got into it for the pay. Everybody
Right.
knows that. We're also professionals, and I do believe professionals deserve to be paid equitably. However, I feel that it's time maybe just to step it up in our profession. Step it up and work hard, and let the actions that we do sort of open the eyes of people who are making decisions.
Very good. Well, Lisa, thanks for stopping by and sharing your passion with us for education, and congratulations on Middle School Teacher
Thank
of
you
the
very
Year.
much.
I'll be back in just a few minutes right after these messages.
What's that? I don't know. Something I kind of made. Ooh, what's it do?
What do I do? Well, thanks for asking. I ring my bell and I like to dance. What do I do? Well, thanks for asking.
Ow! Yeah, it still needs a little work.
Anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your own inventions or just play some games at inventnow.org.
History's Timeline, a world of history in 60 seconds. Brought to you by New Hanover County Schools. 1860 BC, the construction of Stonehenge begins in Britain. 1760 BC, the Shang dynasty is founded in China. 1361 BC, the boy king Tutankhamun succeeds his father as ruler of Egypt. 1250 BC, the Exodus. The Israelites under Moses leave Egypt. 1193 BC, the city of Troy is destroyed by Greek armies after a prolonged siege. This has been History's Timeline, an educational snapshot of fascinating people, places, and events that have shaped our past.
This interview is a lot of fun because we get to be on campus at Laney out here in the courtyard with Melissa Gillespie. She is the High School Educator of the Year. Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself, give us some background. Who is Melissa Gillespie?
Very good question. I'm originally from North Carolina. I attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I had a degree in American Studies, which is U.S. History, and Political Science. And then I went to UNCW to get my certification in teaching. I've been at Laney since 2002, and I teach civics and U.S. history.
Very good. What drew you into teaching?
I see teaching as a way to really give back to your community. I wanted to be a part of community that was bigger than just being a citizen that was active. And it seemed like a tremendous social responsibility not to necessarily teach our students the difference between right and wrong, but how to be engaged in your community and how a democracy actually works.
Tell me about technology in your teaching methods. Has it come a long way since 2002, did you say?
Well, in 2002, we still had overhead projectors, so it's come quite a long way since then. And we now have, you know, a lot of bells and whistles, but they don't always work the way we would like them to. Sometimes the internet system can be a little slow, but now we have mobile labs that come to the classroom, so it certainly has changed.
It's keeping up with the times.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be High School Educator of the Year?
Well, I think it's a great way to actually have a voice as a teacher. Sometimes we can feel isolated. We're in our classrooms. We aren't necessarily connected with our colleagues throughout the building. But it's certainly a way to say some of the tough things that need to be said. It's a way for me to voice my opinions and try to fight that good fight for the teachers, because everyone's not always there to be in that supportive role.
True, true. Tell us about some of your expectations for students.
Some of my expectations for students is that they always try to do their best, and to know that just because they didn't receive an A on a test or quiz doesn't mean that they weren't working up to their best potential. And I think that if they can give their best, for me, I've got them for 90 minutes, and if they can give their all, it's more about their growth, their journey, and if retaining knowledge, not necessarily that final score. They're not just a number, they're not just a figure in my classroom.
There you go. Tell us about your classroom.
Hopefully, I think my students would say my classroom is engaging. I teach civics and U.S. history, so it's incredibly easy to make it relevant to the world around them, and they can see what is happening. So I try to utilize tools that they would see outside of the classroom, and we talk about current events, and they're very much part of it. They're not a passive consumer. I try to make them an active participant in everything that we're doing.
That is so great that you get to do that. I always say one of the keys to working with teenagers is relationship and relevance.
Right,
and if you can bring them into current events and they think like they know something about what's going on, do you find that makes the students successful?
I would definitely think it makes them successful because they can see it around them. And fortunately, I mean, I teach civics, that's their rights and knowing their responsibilities. And so they can see it around them on a daily basis. And I have real life examples to kind of prove, you know, and pull from. Like even today is September 11th and President Obama gave a speech last night talking about our current status in the foreign world and international affairs, and it connects beautifully to 9/11, and we have to discuss it, and they can see that happening.
What keeps you busy outside the schoolroom?
I have 2 kids, and they are 7 and 6. A husband that I've known since I was 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
I know, a long time. And I enjoy running and just going to the beach and being part of our community because it's all about making connections.
Now, what keeps you busy on campus outside the classroom?
On campus outside of the classroom, I help with our beginning mentor BT process.
Nice.
And I really make sure that the BTs, which are our beginning teachers, have a smooth transition from their internship to actually having ownership of their classroom, and to help the mentors also provide guidance for those beginning teachers. And that's really kind of my heart and soul in the school building outside of the classroom with my students.
And that's like a 2-year process or something?
It's a 3-year process.
So you really hang in there with them.
Oh yes, and we go from the beginning to the end, and if we've done our job well, we retain them in the profession.
They're still here.
Yes.
What else do you think we should know about you?
That I really enjoy teaching, that I am in it for the long haul, which I don't think a lot of educators may necessarily say today, and that teaching is truly one thing that can keep you connected to your community and make you feel young on a daily basis, and it's very enjoyable.
Do you feed off the energy of the young people?
Oh yes, definitely. They certainly keep you in the know, and they actually help you a tremendous amount with technology because they have a very fast processing skill because they have so much access to information, and they teach me new ways every day how to process that information and how to utilize it in the classroom.
Anybody in your family educators?
My in-laws are, they were teachers and principals of elementary schools.
Great, great. Well, Melissa, thanks so much for taking the time to come downstairs out of the classroom. And we might note that the principal is covering her classroom for her, so that's kind of cool.
I'm sure the students love it.
Yeah. We'll be back in just a
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
My guest is Kristi Harper. She is the Elementary Educator of the Year from Winter Park Elementary. Thanks for coming in, Kristi.
Thank you for having me.
How long have you been at Winter Park, and how long have you been teaching? Give us a little bit of your background.
Well, I'm starting my 6th year in teaching, and this is my 6th year at Winter Park. Prior to that, I worked at Pine Valley as an assistant for 2 years before I went back to get my licensure. So I came to teaching a little bit later in my adult career, but it's been wonderful.
What drew you to teaching?
Well, I joke that in talking to most teachers, you usually find that they have a mom or an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent that's been in education somewhere along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I joke that we all must have some sort of education gene that we can fight for as
like
long as
that.
we want to. But ultimately, you know, we're drawn back to it. And so I tried a career in banking for a little while, and it just wasn't right for me, and landed in a school, and it's been perfect. It's the right place to be.
Where do you draw your inspiration or inspiration for your teaching style?
From a lot of places. I think we've got very masterful teachers in New Hanover County, and I've been fortunate to work with so many of them and learn from them, both teachers and teaching assistants that I've worked with. My mother and my aunt are both retired educators, and
So you do have the gene.
I have the gene. So they certainly are muses for me and a source of inspiration. I particularly like the works of Ron Clark and Doug Lemov, who wrote Teach Like a Champion. Those two particular works inspire me because they challenge us to set very high expectations for their students, and I try to do that in all aspects of my relationships with my students, make sure our expectations are very high and that they never falter.
Good. What do you enjoy most about teaching?
The children and fresh new faces every year. You know, most of us celebrate New Year's in January. Well, I get to celebrate New Year's in August every year because ultimately it's a fresh, clean slate for me and for every student that walks in the door. So it's a really special thing to get to know them and see how they grow throughout the year.
How about one of your challenges?
Challenges. There are so many challenges that teachers face. We face challenges of what a child's been through before they walk in the door in the morning, what happened at home the night before, technology challenges that in the middle of your lesson your internet freezes up, things like that. But I think ultimately, entering into my 6th year of teaching, I don't feel as challenged as I did starting out. And again, I have so much support at Winter Park. We have lots of resources. Our principal and our financial officer are wonderful about getting us everything that we need.
Good, good. What do you feel is your most important contribution?
I think my most important contribution is making sure that my children leave me a better person than when they began. I want to, of course, I want them to learn the curriculum. I want them to do well on their end of grade tests. But if they can leave me knowing how to be a little bit kinder, a little bit more respectful, a little bit more responsible, that's my ultimate goal, and that's my reward at the end of the school year.
Now, as we know, you're at Winter Park and have been for 6 years. It's a little special to me. Tell me why it's special to you.
I think Winter Park is such a unique place. It's a very small school. It's a very old school. When I tell people where I teach, I go, you know, that old brick place across from Hugh McCrae, and they all go, oh yeah.
But it has gotten a facelift.
It has. We got a facelift a few years ago, and they did a beautiful renovation, hardwood floors and beadboard throughout. It just is a unique learning community, very gifted, dedicated teachers that are very supportive of one another. We are a Title I school, so we have a high population of needier students. And to kind of meet those needs, our PTA and our administration work together to provide all learning supplies for our students, all teaching materials for teachers, to kind of even the playing field for everyone. And so that's very unique about what we do at Winter Park.
Very good. Tell me what it means to you to be the Elementary Educator of the Year.
Well, I remember sitting in the interview, in the final interview, and they asked me that question, and I thought, ultimately, this is the icing on the cake. Being honored by my coworkers, because I hold them in such high regard, that they saw something in me that they thought needed to be recognized, that was the best moment. Being recognized by a larger panel, of course, is a great honor, and I greatly appreciate it. But knowing that the teachers that I work with day to day that are in the trenches with me saw something and wanted to recognize, that's an amazing feeling of accomplishment.
Great. What might you say to someone in college that's considering the profession?
I would say it's going to be the most challenging and most wonderful thing you'll ever do in your life. I think, unfortunately, a lot of young teachers face financial difficulties, face difficulties of not maybe necessarily having the level of support that I had going into teaching. But if they're able to stick with it, and if they love it and they find a passion for it, it's the most rewarding thing you could ever do.
Any other advice you'd like to share with us?
How
about to parents?
Oh, to parents.
If you could speak to the parents at large.
Yeah, sure. I think more importantly than anything else for parents is just to love and support your children. One of the unique things we do at Winter Park as well is with homework. Lots of time we hear from parents about homework being such a struggle between the parent and child, and that should be a celebration of time together. And so enjoy your child and revel in them and have as many positive interactions with them as you can. And make sure you're in your school, make sure you know what's going on, make sure you're supporting your teachers and the other parents in your school. Be a part while you can.
Well, very good. Kristi, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in just a few minutes right after these messages.
It's horrible. Hey, yo, that was not my fault. That was his fault.
His fault? Come on. The running back ran right past you.
We are gonna rock this.
Okay, guys, you ready for the big game?
Dad, did you do the laundry?
Yeah, I used the fabric softener. Let's go.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
In the 1920s, Sherwood Anderson used the theories of Freud to write about the private problems of small-town Middle Westerners in Winesburg, Ohio. Anderson portrayed his characters as leading unfulfilled and twisted lives. Anderson's prose, derived from everyday American speech, influenced almost every great American writer of the next generation. This background in literature has been brought to you by New Hanover County Schools.
There's a monster in my bathtub. There's one on the couch. There's a monster on my bed.
Keep innocent things from triggering an asthma attack.
Please make the monsters go away.
Learn how to stop their asthma attacks at noattacks.org.
We hope you've enjoyed our program today. We congratulate all of New Hanover County Schools Educators of the Year. Now, if you ever have any questions about the topics discussed here on our show today, please call the school system's Public Relations Office at 254-4180 or check out the school system's website at www.nhcs.net. I'm Shelia Evans, and thanks for joining me today.